Call the February 18th Greenway Advisory Committee meeting to order. We have a proper quorum. We have not met for about 4 months, so there are no minutes, and we have no old business, so we'll jump right into new business. Number one, Greenway update / community meeting / plan review. We're fortunate enough to have our city engineer here today, and also our Parks and Rec director. They have put together a slide just to kind of get us up to date on where we're at with the Greenway right now, which was the Hurricane Creek. It was phase 1, but I think we're now just calling it just Hurricane Creek, right? Correct?
They've shifted around phase 1, phase 2.
Okay.
I think now we're just at Hurricane Creek Greenway.
All right. This is the grant that we've had since 1999, and hope to potentially make break ground next year. But I'll turn it over to Kyle and Jeff and kind of get us updated.
Okay. Well, you've all got a small set of plans there, and then their cover sheet, you've got a aerial view of the area that we're talking about. The Greenway going roughly from the library underneath the viaduct to east near Shreveman and then out to the roundabout. If you want to take a minute to look, you just look at the plans, or if you want to just go ahead and Kyle put together a slide presentation where he went out and walked the terrain. That might answer some questions and throw some things that we've got to consider as we move forward with this project. So if it's okay, I'll go ahead and we'll just start through this. And if you have any questions along the way, don't hesitate to stop me, or if you have questions for Kyle regarding engineering. The money that we're looking at was awarded to us in 1999 in the increments that are shown there before you, with the total project funding at $1.9 million. With the current contract with Weiser that we have in place, notice to proceed with construction by July of next year, and we need to be complete by July 7th of 2016. This is what you've got in front of you. It's a little hard to read, but again, the library is right here. This is the bridge going over the water at East Near, and then we're talking about going out along East Near Shreveman. This is core property up in here, and we'll terminate at the roundabout. This is the same map, a little bit easier to read. And I'll jump ahead of myself a little bit, ahead of our next discussion. We got two things that we really need to consider with this portion. This is pretty cut and dry. That section right there is cut and dry. What we need to determine is, needs of the city, what's best for this project. We have an option of developing a really nice trailhead right here. Or, I say or, it's and or, it depends on what the bids come in, or extending the sidewalk along East Near Shreveman down here to 4170. It's one of those, I don't think we're going to be able to do both. We're going to have to decide, do we want to spend our money up here making a trailhead? Do we want to build this sidewalk right here? From a Greenway perspective, and I'm not trying to sway you one way or the other, but if we decide to spend the money on the sidewalk, I don't know where we're going to get money to come back in the future and build the trailhead. Whereas if somebody were to develop this area over here, I feel more than confident in saying that the city would direct them to build sidewalks. I'm not saying it's all or nothing. I'm not saying that there's not no matter which way we go, the city may be able to do something here down the road if we do this. The city may be able to do something down the road if we do this. That's just a decision we're going to have to study pretty hard and see where we want to direct our efforts.
How much of that land along the creek is suitable for construction? Is that floodplain or?
It's pretty much all going to be in the floodplain. However, where we've got the trailhead marked now, and then the other piece that's a little bit more narrow, closer to where it says near Shreveport. It could be built on, all of it can be built on, it's just we're gonna have to make sure what elevations and stuff that we build everything at.
Is there an impact fee, impact money for sidewalks? Or is it just for intersections?
You talking about on
For
new development
construction,
or? Well, if there's new development, then like what Jeff's talking about is on the portion that's not developed right now, if someone was to come in and buy that and then decide to build on it, we would ask them to put sidewalks in or pay a fee in lieu if they decided not to build it. However, I don't think the planning commission would allow them to pay a fee in lieu because there's no reason for them not to build the sidewalk with a curb and gutter section there. They would make them do the sidewalk.
Okay.
Be better to leave it like it is.
And that's kind of what we had talked about is
Generally, though, they would require them to build the sidewalk on their frontage only and not
it's
extend
their
it.
frontage only, and that's
So
what would happen there.
You run the risk of having a patchwork
right.
implementation before it's completed.
You could have a patchwork, but what I would see is if someone wants to develop on the piece that's not developed or, undeveloped now, someone wants to split that up and plat it off and split it up, then you may end up with what we're talking about a patchwork deal. However, kind of what Jeff's leaning to, I think, is the same. Later on, the city may have the funds to be able to do a piece at a time. If that does get patchwork, then like near the KFC that's already developed or other locations, if we've got the right of way, the city can come in on a later date and kind of fill that back in. Kind of what we was looking at is as a whole and as the project that we're looking at now, it seems to be, to me, I'd kind of like the bigger trailhead because it kind of goes along with the greenway, and then see what type structures, because that's one thing we got to look at too is what all can we use the grant funding to build? Can we build a bathroom facility? Can we build a pavilion? That's the type of things that we're looking at maybe putting at the trailhead. So it's a lot better, in my opinion, a better greenway than what it would be if you just put the greenway there and then used the existing parking lot next to the multi-purpose building here for the parking for it.
Do we have right of way on that stretch trail?
We would have right of way, and then the city owns the property.
Okay.
So it's either right of way or the portion we want to build on is the city's. Now we will have the undeveloped property that you can see we're already crossing with the main portion of the greenway. We're going to have to get an easement or a right of way or something from the property owner. Same thing with this. There's a very small piece of land right there that he's pointing at that we're going to have to deal with the property owner there. So it's going to be a process, but
commercial property or private?
I believe it's all commercial.
Okay.
So I mean that funding will come from the total of the projects. That's one thing we're going to have to keep in consideration.
How much are we talking about for the trailhead?
Trailheads, it's ranged from numerous numbers of a couple $100,000 to $75,000. It just depends on how much money we have left and what all we decide to put there. Because if we just do a parking lot, of course that's going to be a lot less than if we did a parking lot, a pavilion, and a bathroom. It kind of depends on how extensive we want to go with the trailhead, and that's kind of what we'd like direction on this board is. Had you rather see connection or connectivity between from Murfreesboro Road down to where the greenway is going to be, or had you rather use what money we would be using to build that and make that trailhead a lot better and bigger than what it would be if you was to do the sidewalk portion?
But it's inevitable that last leg will be built.
Pretty much from the roundabout all the way to City Hall.
Yeah, I mean,
That's gonna be built.
we've got everything in place.
Yes.
As it develops, it'll be built.
Yes.
And even if we don't sell that property, maybe in a year or two, we can get the funds to redo that.
Right. As far as the connectivity, that's something we may be able to do in the future.
Is it just me, or I kind of feel like it would be easier to find money to do a stretch of just sidewalks
Absolutely.
and trail than it would be to find grant money to do a trailhead after the fact.
I think it would be easier, and then the other thing the state usually does on the sidewalk grants, that like on Cheney and Fergus, like we've done,
Yeah.
their big deal is connectivity, is your terminal points. What are you connecting up? And that goes a long way in getting grant money. So with completing Cheney and completing Fergus and actually, using the grant money that y'all have been wanting to use for a while now, once we use this, that's going to open it up maybe to try to apply for more grant money.
The Walden
And
Road.
this might be a prime place to get, some.
Yeah, this will tie in the Walden Road.
If we was to connect it all the way up to the KFC, yes,
Yeah.
Walden Road's gonna have, sidewalks along the whole length of it. And that's kind of the reason why we talked, kind of said something about the idea of connecting this up, is because if we did connect it up, you'd have basically sidewalks all the way from pretty much the interstate all the way down to the Greenway, out to the roundabout, to where if we don't do that section, it's not connected. However, as far as Greenway, I think you're using your money more for the Greenway and a trailhead, and it's more for that.
I mean, we could go after transportation.
You could probably go
tip,
for-
is that what it's called, tip?
You've got tip money, and you got a lot of different options probably to go more money with a sidewalk connection than you probably would with the trailhead.
That's why I'm thinking that.
Now,
that we look at a
playgrounds and
trailhead
stuff,
first,
that's,
but-
we wouldn't be able to do a playground with this grant money.
Right.
But we could do, the parking lot and maybe a bathroom facility and stuff like that. That's what we're looking at. And then Jeff was thinking, after the trailhead gets there, then maybe we'd go back to the mayor and alderman and stuff to see if there's funds, or at that point, we'd ask for grant money or try to search for grants for playgrounds and things.
Playgrounds also opportunities for community involvement and things like that.
Sure.
Right.
But Kyle and I threw some numbers around, and these are purely guesstimates based off of Cheney and Fergus, but that section of sidewalk there would probably come in between $200,000 and $250,000. This is Jeff Marler talking to you. I'd much rather see that money spent up here. And it's not going to be over the top, but it would be the difference between a minimalistic trailhead and something else. I'm not saying it's going to be, it's the difference between a 4-stall bathroom and a 2-stall bathroom. It's the difference between a mechanical chase that you can squeeze a body in and you can get in there and do work. Again, they come in a variety of sizes and styles, and we'll just see what kind of money we've got at the end of the build. You've got those numbers there in front of you, what the total cost is.
One other thing that occurs to
Estimate.
me that kind of just reinforces my opinion that the trailhead would be best is that's kind of the public-facing side of the Greenway efforts so far, and I think it's a better presentation of what this can be, and what a full implementation of a Greenway system can be.
And we've got, or Jeff, he'll have some pictures in a second to show you of kind of probably where the trailhead would have to be if we don't build the trailhead in this location shown, which will be next to the multi-purpose building and use of the existing parking lot, restriping it out. So we can go through those pictures in a second, but if you want to go to sheet C5, that'll show you, this is not the exact layout of what will be there. It's just kind of Wiser put this in right now just as an example of what could fit, and of course Jeff and myself and some more will meet more to discuss, to final that up a little bit better once we decide how much funding we do have, because that'll definitely depend on how large the parking area is, like I said before, whether or not we have a bathroom facility or not, whether or not it's a pavilion or 2 pavilions, or throwing around the idea of a labyrinth and some other side, just different things like that.
Labyrinth it's a really cool thing that some of the folks at Wiser showed us. It can be stone, it can be paver stones, it can be different colors of dirt. It's just basically a maze on the ground, and it's really taken off, I guess, as far as people doing therapeutic walking and things of that nature. And you can do these huge labyrinths made out of stone that people walk, just like the people that walk the malls. And it's really taken off, and it's low cost. We could do it in the floodplain down there,
But
because
those kinds of things I see being an opportunity for community involvement, whether it's scout troops or
sure.
I kind of think when you do a trailhead that the constructed items probably should.
And that's
Take
what we,
precedence,
here's,
sure.
here's what we would probably do is have Wiser lay it out to where like, we think the playground would fit here in the
Yeah,
future.
have a plan.
We
yeah.
wouldn't want to put it there yet. Like you say, we'd do some community involvement in the future. Same thing with Labyrinth and any other sidewalk network or anything else like that. And like you say, the structures we would go ahead and get with this grant that the grant would allow us to, to actually construct. But we would want to get some type of layout and have a plan of where we're going to place everything. That way when in the future, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years from now, 10, whatever it may be, Jeff and whoever else can go in and do those other little pieces to kind of fill that in.
But to not put the trailhead in now, I think would be hard pressed to come back and get that money down the road. I just really do. Also, with it being our first phase right on the lake, you do want that to stand out, in my opinion. So that's my thoughts anyway.
Okay, now Kyle went out last week and basically, just a terrain walk of the proposed Greenway site. This is right up here, probably right next to the log cabin, looking back towards Murfreesboro Road. The library would be over here to the right. And that's just facing about and looking. The Greenway will go down here. We're behind the multi-purpose building now. This is the bridge right through there at East near Shreveman. It's a little bit closer look in, closer even still. And the Greenway will go underneath this bridge. I think it's that one right there, is it not?
Yes.
Okay, it'll go across the creek and go through that opening right there. If we were to elect not to develop the trailhead further on down, this would be the most likely place to do a trailhead. We'd revamp the parking here. This is the senior baseball field and the adult softball field here. That's the only alternative along the course of the route that would lend itself to a trailhead. Just another vantage point of the same. Now we're across, looking back to the west on East Near. Here's the bridge again that we came out from underneath, as our beaver problem is over this way somewhere. And this is the area, vicinity of Weatherford and East near Shreveman. This is that area that's opened up that we would like to have the trailhead. It's going to be a really cool area anyway, because there's some wetlands that have been identified out here that will have a boardwalk going across. There's a couple of pedestrian bridges before you get out to there. Just aesthetically, it's the most appealing part of the entire Greenway, in my estimation. And it's roughly halfway down the course of the trail, especially if we are looking forward to going up the old road or coming back down Stones River and incorporating the sidewalk into the plan. And that's pretty close to the entrance of where we would go in. And again, I'm guessing that Kyle's probably standing right there on the corner of Weatherford, pretty close to it, and East Near. And then the terminus is right here at the old roadbed and the roundabout. And again, you can see where it ties into the established sidewalks that have gone up Stones River and the roundabout there. Now this is the other, I'm going to call it an ad alternate, if you will. We've come out from the bridges to our rear. Now we're looking down East Near towards 4170, and KFC is right down in here. And that's further down the road, looking back up at our bridge again, is right there. And you can see there is room for sidewalk. I'm not arguing that. I'm just wondering if it's in our best interest to go that way, like we've talked about. And I don't want to sway your vote. I'm trying to pitch this in a way that actually get your input. This is Cason Lane in Murfreesboro, typical trailhead, something we might be interested, similar to this, with You got parking, you've got a shelter over here, restroom facility. And again, that's I would deem that a corporate shelter as opposed, well, and there's the long version of it, the corporate shelter.
Sponsored, is that corporate?
Well, they just refer to them as corporate. I mean, like 15 picnic tables versus a small shelter with 3 or 4.
Okay.
Because it can accommodate, a Bridgestone, Firestone, outing or something of that nature. Again, as Kyle touched on, we can't use this money for playgrounds, but we can use this money for trash cans and bike racks and lighting if there is any here. I think there's a light pole there. We can use this money for that type of thing. And the painting and the parking lot and all that. But the playground will be on us. Excuse me. The playground will be on us at some point in the future to put in. There's a typical restroom facility, nothing over the top, but it is, I'm guessing there's probably a 3 or 4 stall bathroom with a mechanical chase in the middle. Again, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of designs that we could put into there. And then that's just the gate or the entrance to the park. Pretty simple. They've got a gate that somebody from their staff comes at night and closes. And that we would make this a day use only park for right now. I'm not saying at some point down the future we could change that, but it'd be a day use only park, so it would be on us to secure it in the evenings. And then whatever questions you might have.
Like Jeff was saying, that was just a tip. Just one greenway or trailhead we went and looked at. You could have many variations of that. It doesn't have to look anywhere close to what that did.
Kyle, at one point they were talking maybe construction starting April, May this year, and now here and they're kind of getting moved back a little bit. What's the thoughts, and is there potential to start this year at all? Or
Yes, we definitely want to start this year. I really think probably finishing up design. If after this meeting, we'd probably want to have. I think Jeff said something about maybe a community input meeting also. So we'd want to definitely have that before we just put the finishing touches on the design. But Weiser should be able to finish design within the next month and a half, and then get state approval. Now, what's going to be? It's just the state process takes a little while. We would, like we done mentioned, the acquisition of the property. That's going to take some time, and then as soon as we get the property acquired, the plans are approved, they'll give us the notice to proceed to advertise, which we'd advertise. It's about a month to advertise. We'll take it back to the Mayor Alderman Board to approve, and we got to send it to the state for concurrence. So you're looking at another month process to get concurrence, and then another month after that to start construction. So that's about a 3-month process once we get ready to bid it out. So it really hinges on, can we acquire the property within a month or 2-month time frame. If we can, we're looking at construction starting this fall. And I think that's what, as long as we start construction before next July, I think it's July 2014, we're still okay. So we're still on track. It's just a matter of, we need to make sure we've got to follow the steps that the state requires, or we lose funding. And the biggest thing is going to be property acquisition. And so that's going to be the biggest thing that I'd love to tell you. Yes, we'll start this fall, because technically time frame wise we can, if we don't run into any issues trying to acquire this property. And before we can acquire the property or even talk to the property owners, we have to have the notice to proceed with right-of-way acquisition from the state. It's just one of those steps. And to do that, we've got to have the plans finished up first. And we wanted to have definitely this board's input, and then at least, I think, like I said, Jeff was wanting at least one community meeting, which would be upcoming shortly. I don't know how far out, but as soon as that's over with, we'd probably get something submitted to the state to move forward. And I think this board meet once every 2 months or something like that. We'd definitely try to keep you updated as we go along.
deal. I see Weiser out there pretty much every day now.
They're trying to get everything to finish up design, so that's what they're looking at, and kind of this meeting probably will get them to the point to be able to finish up as almost to the end. And like I say, as far as community input, just want to make sure that the community does have a chance to come in and speak on some of their thoughts, if the community has anything they want to express on it.
Okay. Guys, any other questions? Thoughts on the sidewalk versus the trailhead? I think we kind of put a couple ideas out. I don't know what y'all's thoughts are, but
Trailhead, I'd rather do trailhead.
Yeah.
Like you said, we can either really to sell that down the road and work on getting them to do it, or maybe somewhere down the road we can get a grant to do it ourselves. Right now, that trailhead's the way to go. I mean,
I agree.
that's my opinion. I don't know. Everybody's got, you know.
I'm with you on it. I think the trailhead is the maximum bang for this.
We got a long way to go for this thing to ever be complete. There's no telling what's going to go on with that.
As long as we're sure that that other stretch, it doesn't get away from us as far as sidewalk requirements for any construction.
Right. At the planning commission level right now, it is a requirement that I don't see going away, but like you say,
Yeah,
we
make
need to
them
stay
swear
on.
an oath or
That's
something.
what I thought. I thought now if you put a building up, you had to have sidewalks.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're putting up sidewalks if
Yeah.
you build now, so.
Yeah,
I just still understand the concern, definitely need to stay on top of that to make sure that is planned out.
And I know this will be presented to the planning commission at some point as well, so
We'll probably,
just an informational.
get it to them after it gets almost
Yeah.
completed as
So
far as. the
that would be a
sidewalk.
good time to, to relay the importance of
Because
that piece, that stretch.
once as far as the buildings, we're gonna have to make sure we submit it to them anyhow to get their approval. So that's kind of what we need to figure out, and that's where we wanted to get from this meeting is definitely, do we want to spend the money on the trailhead or the sidewalk? And if it sounds like, to me, like definitely the trailhead, so that's what we're gonna focus the attention on. And now it's just gonna be a matter of what all can we build and stay within the budget, and what structures can we build that the grant will pay for. Like I say, there is some things the grant we can use the money for, and some things we can't. So that's what we're gonna have to look at, and we'll try to max out the benefit and what we receive with the money we do have, as far as buildings.
Is there anything further on the Greenway? Jeff, y'all have anything? All right. We have a little bit of a snag we've been getting the updates each time we've met on our sidewalk projects. We just finished our Fergus Road project. We finished our Cheney Road project. The one that was left out there still is the Safe Routes to School, which is a 100% matching grant. We actually, I'll let y'all explain what's happening and how we got pushed back a little bit.
Okay. Well, we elected to wait until after the first of the year to advertise it based on the size of the project and the timeline. It was advertised, it was bid opening, and we did have a lowest bidder. We took it to the board approved it. We sent it off to the state for concurrence, and we got non-concurrence, if I'm not mistaken. Is that the right verbiage?
At this point, we do have an issue with the low bidder, and what the state's directed us to do is bring it back to our board because of the issue with the low bidder, and go with the next bidder for concurrence. So that's what we're going to present to the Mayor Alderman Board, and myself and Jeff. We can't state exactly how the board will vote. I mean, we can only assume that they will go with the next low bidder, unless the low bidder and the state work something out, which I don't know the status of that. That there's really not, that's not up to us. As far as what we're concerned, the state did relay back to us there is an issue with the low bidder that with how they filled some things out and other various things. So we're going to have to take it back to the Mayor Alderman Board and like I say, go with the next lowest bidder to send for concurrence. So that's going to set us back a month at least. And once that gets worked out, then this project should get started, which should not take a long time to get constructed.
Was there a large difference between the lowest and next lowest?
About $14,000.
What's the total price of the project?
It was want to say that the low bidder was 72.
72 and I was
I believe.
86.
So when you're talking under $100,000, $14,000 is quite a bit of a difference to have to go with the next one. The
What was the
I guess if
nature?
there's only good thing about it is, like Alderman Broker's already mentioned, it was 100% matching or 100% grant. So we're still under, even including the CEI services that we'll have to pay for. We're still going to be under what grant money we do have, and we'd still have just a little bit, not much at all, but we'd have just a little bit just in case there's some slight or small change order.
What was the nature of the non-concurrence?
Basically, there's a pre-qualified list. The information we got back from the states right now is there is a pre-qualified list to be able to do a project. They are on the pre-qualified list, but apparently the state has a pre-qualified questionnaire that gives you who has authority to sign things and not whoever signed their information did not really have authority. That's one item we received. The other thing is the bid bond. There's a form, not just the bid bond itself, but there's another form, a sheet, I believe it's a state-generated sheet that is supposed to be filled out. They did not fill that sheet out. That's the only thing. So it's not anything, it's not like they wasn't on the pre-qualified list. It's not like they didn't provide the bid bond or anything. It's just
They could overcome those problems, maybe work it out with the state.
if the state decides it, I mean, we had this kind of same situation similar happen on Fergus, to where we had a low bidder, some similar issue, kind of a technical type issue like we're having now, and we went back and the board even voted to go with the next low bidder, and we submitted it back for concurrence, and by that time it somehow got worked out to where they said, okay, you can go with the low bidder. So then we went back and took it back to the board to go with the low bidder again. So that's how that one got, and I'm hoping this one don't get as confusing, but
Are there time frames on this grant money like there are?
September
September.
of this year.
So
But
you
even
don't
with
really
this
have
minor,
time to-
even with this hiccup though, we're fine. In fact, it's almost, I'm not gonna say to our advantage, but the timeline works out better, what with school getting out in May when it does. I don't think we're putting ourselves up against any hard places.
we're looking at 30-day max. We've got 60-day in the contract, but once the contractor actually gets out there, it'll probably be done in 30 days. I mean, that's what we fully expect, but it is a 60-day contract, so you got 2 months of construction.
What was it, about 1,200 feet? 1,200 feet of sidewalk?
Yes, it's
like that?
about 1,200.
And there's no environmental required, where, I mean, all that's done. It's basically once it
Everything's ready
gets,
to go. It's just basically we gotta get concurrence first. So once we receive the concurrence, so if nothing changes, we'll bring it back to the board, and if the board votes to go with the next the next bidder, we'll submit it back for concurrence, which shouldn't take them a full 30 days. I mean, they responded to this one within, I think, a week or a week and a half. So if they respond that quick, then after that, you're looking at about a 3-week period before you start construction. So you're looking at maybe a month and a half, 2 months out now from when construction would start. So if everything still meets that timeline, we'll definitely be done before the expiration of this.
Is anything further? All right. Our next meeting will be 2 months from now, April 15th, 7 p.m. Again, that will be televised. Now, if we do have a community meeting before then, we'll definitely be in touch. And I think we're shooting for a month and a half, so we'll definitely be in touch with you as far as that goes. And down to any comments or questions or any other concerns you may have right now? Okay. The only thing that I'm going to say is, guys, just bear with us. This is moving slow, but it's moving, and we'll just we'll keep you updated as quickly as we know anything as well. Other than that, I appreciate your patience with all this, and we are moving though. So, Jeff, you have anything further, or Kyle?
please take those plans with you and look over them. If you have questions of Kyle from an engineering perspective or myself, don't hesitate to give me a shout, and I can forward it to Kyle and get you an answer back.
I'm quite curious about the bottom of this bridge and how that's gonna go. But it's all right here, I can look through that.
I didn't hear what you said.
The bottom of the bridge.
Bottom of the bridge, how they're gonna construct it to go under the bridge, what's gonna be under it.
I believe they've
It's supposed to
already,
be a sidewalk kind of
Right.
structure that just goes right underneath. It's similar to what's up here by the airport.
I think Smyrna's got some similar situations.
They do.
I know Murfreesboro's got similar situations. What always is different though is the size of the box culvert bridge or whatever
Right.
you're going under. So I know that's probably your concern on this one is the picture you've seen is how small that is. They'll make sure they do meet the height requirements and stuff like that.
Yeah,
'Cause
it was
it's
supposed to
gotta
be.
safe.
I do
constructed
remember when
to
that
that.
bridge, they had to go back and amend the plans to that because it wasn't high enough or something like that, if I'm not
There
mistaken.
was an
They had to go-
opportunity to do it now, do it then,
exactly.
knowing that in the future we
Right.
would not have to deal with it.
I think they actually had to raise the elevation of the
Yeah,
bridge.
They've made some changes.
All right. Well, if there's nothing further, Kyle, I appreciate you coming out and updating us. We'll adjourn. Thank you all.
We'll get that back.